Students, welcome you all to this online class of Science with me. My name is Abhishek and you're watching the channel Vigyanam. In our last video, that is the previous video of conservation of plants and animal, part 1, we had already covered the few topics such as the deforestation and their consequences. Along with we had already seen about the biosphere reserves and some of the biosphere activities. Now, in this uh, topic, we are going to cover some of the topics such as what are the endemic species, as well the wildlife sanctuaries along with the national parks, endangered species, and we will have some look over the red data books, migration and reforestation. So continue with me to watch all the video. So at first we are going to start with the introduction that in the last video we had already studied about the deforestation, right? Where we had seen that how deforestation have become the cause of all problems that is we are facing, right? The problems that we are facing nowadays, even the animals also. The main cause of these problems is what? The deforestation. And now we had already seen the biosphere reserves and how it's used to conserve the wildlife such as flora and fauna. So, today we are going to have a look upon the wildlife sanctuaries and the national parks. First of all, we will have a look over the endemic species. So, what is this endemic species? Those species of plants and animals which are found exclusively in a particular area. जो सिर्फ एक ही एरिया में particularly मिलता है उसी को हम क्या बोलते हैं? Endemic species, right? And we had already known about the definition of the species, that is some such populations of what says organisms which can breed, means which can interbreed themselves and can produce their own. So in case of plants and animals which are found exclusively in a particular area, those are known as what? Endemic species. So they are not naturally found everywhere, right? वो हर जगह पे नहीं मिलते हैं. A particular types of animals or plants may be endemic to a zone, a state or a country. So they may also become endangered. तो क्वेश्चन यहाँ पे आता है कि why, if some particular types of animals or plants are found in particular areas, so what is the threat to them? उन्हें क्या threat है? Why they become endangered? Now, what is the endangered means? I will cover it later. First of all, let's see some of the causes that why they become endangered. So first cause is the destruction of their habitat. So if some animals, such as here we have the pictures of the Rufous necked hornbill, which is found in our Mahananda wildlife sanctuaries, right? So we specially found this Rufous necked hornbill in our in where in the Mahananda wildlife sanctuaries. So if what is that the Mahananda wildlife sanctuaries is the special habitat of this Rufous wildlife Rufous hornbill. So if their habitat will be destructed, so these species may come to endangered. Another, that increasing population. If the population means here the population of the human beings or some other animals, if the population of such other animals which used to hunt these birds, so what will happen? Their population will decrease, right? Also, the introduction of the new species. If the new species will be introduced there, so what will happen? Those new species will do what? A competition for the food, and in that competition, these species may get endangered. Here we have the another pictures of another endangered species in the Mahananda Wildlife Sanctuaries, that is the Oriental Paired Hornbill. So these two types of species which are mainly found in the Mahananda Wildlife Sanctuaries, so they are known as what? Endemic species. Now, wildlife sanctuaries. Come to the part wildlife sanctuaries, as we were already talking about the Mahananda wildlife sanctuaries, which with you are already familiar with because your school, that is APS Sugna, is already inside the Mahananda wildlife sanctuary. So this wildlife sanctuaries is an area of protected land, right? So that provides the protection and suitable living conditions to wild animals. So these wildlife sanctuaries do what? It provides the protection and the suitable living conditions to the wild animals, where the killing and capturing of the animals are strictly prohibited in the wildlife sanctuaries. Now, some of the threatened wild animals such as the black buck, marsh crocodiles, rhinoceros, etc. are protected and preserved in the wildlife sanctuaries. So, wildlife sanctuaries are the protected areas in which the human interference is not allowed. But peoples in the wildlife sanctuaries who lives in the wildlife sanctuaries, they are allowed to do certain activities such as they can um, they do what they can do the grazings by their livestock, even they can collect some medicinal plants as well as firewood. So some of the human activities is allowed in the wildlife sanctuaries, but especially the killing or poaching of animals is strictly prohibited in the wildlife sanctuary. So what it is used for, it is used to protect the lands, it is used to protect the wild animals as well as some species. Mainly, it focuses on the species, right? Now, come to the Mahananda Wildlife Sanctuaries, of which I am already talking about. That is, in case of the Mahananda Wildlife Sanctuaries, here it is a picture of the gate of the Mahananda Wildlife Sanctuaries, where the flora and fauna, almost 330 different types of plantations found in this Mahananda Wildlife Sanctuaries, in which the Khair, Sisho, Shimul, Tropical, etc. are some of the famous ones. Especially the elephant and different varieties of the birds are the main attraction of these wildlife sanctuaries, this Mahananda Wildlife Sanctuaries. Because if you visit this Mahananda Wildlife Sanctuaries, or you may frequently see these elephants or different varieties of the birds, right? Like peacock, some uh, such kinds of hornbills, etc. So apart from these, almost 36 different species of mammals also exist in these sanctuaries. Whereas we can see that the Himalayan black bear, leopards, rare mountains goat, porcupine, golden cats, etc. are already spotted in these wildlife sanctuaries. So we can see that almost 330 different kinds of flora uh, and almost 36 different species of fauna is already founded in these wildlife sanctuaries. Now, come to the definition of the national park. That what is this national park? So it is also an area which is reserved for the wildlife specially. It is what it is usually it is specially reserved for the wildlife where they can freely use the habitats and natural resources like the Kaziranga National Park. So this national park contains extremely important habitats and the species. So what is it? They used to protect the areas in which the human interference is strictly prohibited. We had already seen that in case of the wildlife, in case of what says the wildlife sanctuaries, what we had seen that the human activities is allowed it. In some extent, the human activities is allowed it. But in case of the national park, it is completely prohibited. The human interference is completely prohibited. Okay. Hunting and other activities are also not allowed in these reserves areas. The main aim of this national park is to what? Is to conserve and enhance the natural beauty, wildlife and cultural heritage present in it. So here we had got the difference between the wildlife sanctuaries and the national park, that in case of wildlife sanctuaries they mainly used to conserve the species, which is in which all the animals, birds, as well as different kinds of flora fauna existed. But in case of the national park, it only focuses on the wildlife, the animals. Okay. So when we talk about this national reserve, so we should also be uh, know about the tiger reserves. So those special course areas inside the biosphere reserves. So inside the biosphere reserve there are the three cores. One is the core area, another is the buffer zone, and the third one is the transition area. So that core area, those areas where the tigers are found in the larger amount, so those core areas are actually provided to those tigers for their habitat. So in case of the tiger reserves, and these are exclusively for the conservation of the tigers in a country, as known as what, tiger reserves. So in India there is almost 50 tiger reserves existed, in which it comes under the Project Tiger, which is administered by the National Tiger Conservation Authority, that is NTCA. Here we have seen the picture of this the India, where we can see that the Maharashtra as well as the Madhya Pradesh has the highest count of tiger, that is 526. And if we say the second highest state having the tiger, that is what? Karnataka, right? That is 524 tigers present in Karnataka. And the third, that Uttarakhand, that is almost 442. So in India now at present almost 2,967 tigers are there in India. So India is what? It is the home to 80% of the tiger all over in the world. In 2006, there were almost 1411 tigers in India, which have increased, which have shown a tremendous increase of 1706 in 2010, whereas 2226 in 2014, and now, according to the latest data of 2018, there are almost 2967 tigers present in India. So India increases, means India shows an increase of the tigers where the Project Tiger have successfully worked in India, right? Now we have to have a look over the distinction between the national parks, sanctuaries, and biosphere reserves. So, in case of the biosphere reserves, we have already talked about this, that the biosphere reserves is a complete ecosystem. That is the whole ecosystem. When we talk about the biosphere, that is a complete ecosystem which supports life. So, those biosphere reserves means those areas which used to support the life in the larger amount. So, the size of the biosphere reserves is almost contains more than 5,600 square kilometers. Whereas if we talk about the national park and the wildlife sanctuaries, the area covered under the national park and the wildlife sanctuaries is from the range between 100 to 5,000 100 to 500 square kilometer, as well as in sanctuaries it's almost range from 0.61 square kilometer to 7,817 18 square kilometer. Whereas the boundaries are fixed by the legislation in the national park, but in sanctuaries the boundaries are not fixed. Also, we can see the biosphere reserves when we are talking about the whole system, the whole ecosystem. So obviously the boundaries must be fixed there, right? Except the buffer zone in case of the national park, the no biotic interference is available in case of the national park. But when we talk about the sanctuaries, there is a limited biotic interferences is there, and in case of the biosphere reserves, the almost all the activities except the buffer zone, and except the buffer zone there should not be any means there are the except the buffer zones the biotic interference is allowed, right? But if we say about the tourism, that the tourism is allowed in the national park, whereas in the wildlife sanctuaries that is also permissible, right? But the research and the scientific management is lacking in the national park. There is no such researching, no such availability for the researchers in the national park as well as the wildlife sanctuaries, which is also lacking. But in case of the biosphere reserves, when we talk about the biosphere reserve, the researchers means all those who are the researcher, they can continue their research in the biosphere reserves, right? So after the difference between all three, now we have to look over the endangered species. As we had already talked about, the endangered species are those species whose numbers are getting what? Diminished. जिनके नंबर क्या हो रहे कम रहे हैं. So all those animals whose numbers are getting diminished to a level that they might face the extinction. Extinction का क्या मतलब है? That means those species which get completely extinct from earth, जो completely लुप्त हो जाएंगे, उसे हम क्या बोलते हैं? Extinction is known as what? Endangered animals or species. Here we have some of the images of the endangered species such as tigers, rhinos, some big cats, elephants, etc. Right? So there are some of the endangered species founded in India. Now, there is a red data book which is managed by every state. It is what? It's a document which is established for documenting the rare and endangered species of animals, plants, fungi, as well as some local subspecies that existed in the territory. Now, this red data book contains a complete list of the threatened species, right? So, the Red Data Books helps us in providing the complete information of the research, studies, and also for monitoring the program on the rare and endangered species and their habits. So, this book is mainly created to protect those species which are on the verge of extinction, as we had already learned about some animals which got extinct, right? Such as mammoths, dodo. So those are some animals which got what extinct. So this book, this red data book, completely keep the data so on of those animals which are getting extinct, also lost and harmed, and are not able to continue their life cycle. So those species can either be animal, bird, as well as plants, right? After the red data book, some birds are also there which do what, the migration. Now migration is what, it's a phenomena of movement of species from its own habitat to some other habitat. So here we have some of the pictures of flamingos, okay, as well as the Siberian cranes. So these do what, these comes from the Siberia to our India, from their own habitats to our Indian habitats. For what? In a particular time period over a year, for especially for the breeding, because because the time period in which they used to migrate, that time period is not what says not if they used to stay at that place, so that place will not be habitual for them, will not be able to stay at that place. So obviously those birds do what, they used to do, migrate, right? And that's why there are some of the birds which used to migrate from one place to from one place to another place, as well as some of the other species which used to migrate from one place to another place. Now, after these all through the chapters that we had seen, that deforestation did what, causes all those problems in our world, in our ecosystem. So there is a counter process of this deforestation, that is the reforestation. Now reforestation क्या है, फिर से plant लगाना. So reforestation is the process of regenerating or replanting the forest areas, right, that have been destroyed. जो forest area already ख़त्म हो चुका है उसे फिर से replant करना, as well as those areas which got damaged for the benefits of the mankind. So if we used to plant the trees, that's why already you are familiar with the ecosystem, that is there are so many of march past which used to focus on what, the reforestation. Now reforestation, or another word is afforestation. Now these two words shares the same meaning, because afforestation is also the another meaning of the reforestation. Occasionally forests have the capability to regenerate due to the trees in the surrounding, or due to the dispersion of the seed. But if we human beings used to plant the trees in a larger amount, so we will do what, we will act as a catalyst to we can act as a catalyst to uh, regenerate the forest areas. So here we can easily counter the deforestation with the help of what, reforestation. Okay, so I hope that you have understood the chapter very well. It is the end of the chapter, and I hope that you will complete all your assignments very soon. So thank you all, god bless you all.